I thought humans were just overhyped Deathworlders, until I watched one walk into a level Omega combat zone and treat it like recess. That was the moment I realized our entire military was a lie. Look, I have been doing this job for 15 cycles. 15 cycles of turning soft, pampered civilians into something resembling soldiers. And in all that time, in all those hundreds of recruits from dozens of species, I thought I had seen everything. I was wrong. So catastrophically, hilariously, terrifyingly wrong. My name is Corpax, Drill Sergeant First Class of the Galactic Coalition Defense Forces, and I need you to understand something right from the start. I am good at my job. No. Scratch that. I am exceptional at my job. I have trained Volnari, whose species considers a raised voice to be physical assault. I have trained Quilnath, who naturally faint at the sight of their own blood. I have even trained a gelation, which is essentially a sentient puddle that has to be kept in a specialized containment suit just to maintain shape. So when Command told me I would be getting a human in my next training group, I laughed. Actually laughed. Because humans, you see, were the new big thing. The species everyone was talking about. The Deathworlders who had just joined the Coalition last cycle, and Command, in their infinite wisdom, decided that these apex predators from a Class 12 Deathworld needed to go through the same basic training as everyone else. For integration purposes, they said. For diplomatic relations, they said. I should have known better. The training facility on Nexus Station is state-of-the-art, climate-controlled, gravity-adjustable safety protocols that could probably protect you from a supernova. The perfect environment for turning civilians into soldiers without actually, hurting anyone. Because that is not what the Coalition does. We are civilized, we are enlightened. We prepare our forces for the extremely unlikely event of actual combat through careful, measured, completely safe simulations. That morning I had 43 recruits lined up in the staging area. 43 beings from 27 different worlds, all standing at what they thought was attention. There was Kilrek, a Hovant, whose species evolved on a low-gravity moon and who looked like he might blow away in a stiff breeze. There was Thessaly, a Brintic with 4 arms and approximately 0 muscle tone. There was Vorn, Quelix, Mirana and dozens of others whose names I had not yet bothered to memorize because, let's be honest, half of them would wash out in the first week. And then there was her. Mira Blake stood in the back row, and I almost missed her entirely. Not because she was small, though she was certainly shorter than most of the recruits. Not because she was trying to hide, because she absolutely was not. I almost missed her because she looked so aggressively, monumentally unimpressed with everything around her, while the other recruits were nervously fidgeting, checking their equipment, whispering to each other in hushed tones. This human was just standing there with her arms crossed, looking around the facility like she was touring a particularly boring museum. She had dark hair pulled back in some kind of tail configuration, brown skin and eyes that seemed to be cataloging every exit, every weapon, every potential threat in the room. Standard issue training uniform, no special modifications. Nothing about her appearance screamed dangerous. Nothing about her screamed predator. She just looked like another recruit who thought they were tougher than they actually were. Listen up, I bellowed, my voice echoing through the staging area. 3 recruits jumped. One made a small squeaking sound. The human did not even blink. You are now the property of the Galactic Coalition Defense Forces. For the next 8 weeks, your lives belong to me. You will eat when I say eat. You will sleep when I say sleep. You will breathe when I say breathe. Is that understood? Yes, Drill Sergeant, came the chorus of responses, in about 17 different languages simultaneously translated through the facility's systems. I began my usual speech, the one about honor, duty, service to the Coalition, the one about how they were soft now, but I would make them hard. How they were individuals now, but I would make them a unit. Standard stuff, really. I had given this speech so many times I could do it in my sleep. The human yawned. Actually yawned. Right in the middle of my speech about the sacred responsibility of defending Coalition space. Just opened her mouth and yawned like I was reading her a bedtime story. You! I barked, pointing at her. Human! Do I bore you? She looked at me with those brown eyes and I swear there was amusement in them. No, Drill Sergeant. Just did not sleep well last night. Station gravity is weird. Keep going. Keep going. She told me to keep going. Like she was giving me permission to continue my own speech. Several recruits gasped. One fainted, but that was Kilrek, and he fainted at pretty much everything, so that was not unusual. I smiled. It was not a nice smile. Well then, Recruit Blake, since you are so alert and ready, how about you lead the first exercise? She shrugged. Actually, shrugged. Sure, Drill Sergeant. Whatever you need. Oh, I was going to enjoy this. The obstacle course at Nexus Station is, objectively speaking, a masterpiece of training engineering. It has adjustable gravity fields, temperature zones ranging from -10 to +40 degrees Celsius, simulated terrain from 6 different planetary classifications, and obstacles designed to challenge every major species in the Coalition. It is hard. It is supposed to be hard. That is the entire point. Standard protocol calls for recruits to complete the course in under 20 minutes. 15 minutes is considered excellent. 12 minutes gets you honors. The record set by a Krenthian whose species literally has springs in their legs is 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Blake, I shouted. You are up first. Full combat loadout, standard gravity, temperature set to 25 degrees Celsius. Move out. She jogged to the starting line, not even bothering to stretch. The other recruits were watching with a mixture of curiosity and what I can only describe as morbid anticipation. They had all heard the stories about humans, the wild tales about Deathworld monsters who could crush steel and bite through armor. Looking at this completely average-sized woman in a training uniform, I think they were expecting something more impressive. So was I, honestly. On my mark. I called out, activating my timer. 3, 2, 1, go. She went. And immediately I knew something was wrong. Not wrong like she was failing. Wrong like the universe had suddenly stopped making sense. Because Mira Blake was not struggling with the course, she was not carefully navigating the obstacles, conserving energy, pacing herself like every tactical manual recommends. She was sprinting. The first obstacle was a wall. 3 meters high, smooth surface, requires upper body strength and technique to climb. Most recruits take 30 to 40 seconds on this one. Blake hit it at a dead run, jumped, caught the top edge, and pulled herself over in one smooth motion. 4 seconds. I checked my timer twice because I thought it had malfunctioned. The second obstacle was a balance beam over a mud pit. Standard procedure is slow. Careful steps, arms out for balance. She ran across it. Just ran across it, like it was a normal floor. Did not even wobble. Behind me, I heard Thessaly whisper, "Is that normal for humans?" "Quiet in the ranks," I snapped. But honestly, I was wondering the same thing. The crawl section was next. 15 meters of tunnel, 60 centimeters high, with simulated barbed wire across the top. You are supposed to low crawl, keeping your body flat, moving slowly to avoid the sensors that register as injuries if you hit them. This section usually takes 3 to 4 minutes. Blake dropped and moved through it like a snake on fast forward. I heard the sensors beeping and thought, finally, she is failing. But when I checked the readout, the beeps were not injury markers. They were speed warnings. The system thought she was moving too fast for the tunnel dimensions and was alerting me to a possible equipment malfunction. She was not failing. She was going so fast the course itself was confused. 45 seconds. She cleared the crawl in 45 seconds. The rope climb was next. 10 meters. Straight up, standard Earth equivalent gravity. This is where upper body strength becomes critical. This is where most recruits start to struggle, start to realize that training is not a game. Mira Blake went up that rope like gravity was a suggestion she had chosen to ignore. Hand over hand, smooth and steady, not even breathing hard. At the top, she slapped the sensor, slid back down using some kind of controlled fall technique that should have burned her hands, and landed in a ready crouch. The rest of the course was more of the same. The tire run where you are supposed to carefully place your feet. She bounded through it. The wall traverse that requires careful grip management. She swung across it like it was playground equipment. The final sprint through the mud section that usually has recruits gasping and stumbling. She accelerated. When she crossed the finish line, I looked at my timer. Then I looked at it again. Then I reset it and checked the backup timer because there was no possible way. 6 minutes. 32 seconds. She had cut the station record almost in half. And she was not even breathing hard. There was mud on her uniform, sure, and some dust in her hair. But she looked like she had just finished a light jog. She walked over to the water station, took a drink, and stretched her shoulders a bit. "Good warm-up," she said, nodding to herself. "What is next, Drill Sergeant?" "Warm-up." She called it a warm-up. I felt my face go through several colors. Warm-up? Recruit Blake, that was the primary obstacle course. The full course. The one designed to push Coalition soldiers to their limits. She looked at me with those calm brown eyes, and I saw it again. That amusement. Like I had just said something funny. "Right. So, training stuff. I get it. What is the actual challenge?" That was the actual challenge. My voice probably carried across 3 decks. Several recruits flinched. The human did not. "This is training, Blake. Training. Not a war. Not some Deathworld survival scenario. This is a carefully calibrated exercise designed by the finest military minds in the Coalition." There was a pause. A long pause. And then Mira Blake smiled. It was not a mean smile. Exactly. It was more like the smile you give someone when they have fundamentally misunderstood something important and you are about to correct them. "Drill Sergeant Corpax," she said, her voice perfectly respectful and completely infuriating. "With all due respect, you are wrong." The other recruits made various sounds of shock. You do not tell a drill sergeant they are wrong. You especially do not tell a drill sergeant they are wrong in front of 42 other recruits. That is not how this works. That is not how any of this works. "Wrong?" I stepped closer to her. "Explain yourself, recruit, right now." She gestured at the obstacle course behind her. "This is not training, sir. I do not know what it is. Exactly. Maybe a physical fitness evaluation? Maybe a really elaborate team-building exercise. But it is definitely not training. Because training, actual training, is supposed to prepare you for combat. And nothing about this," she waved her hand at the pristine, climate-controlled, safety-monitored facility around us, "prepares anyone for actual combat." I stared at her. The other recruits stared at her. The assistant instructors monitoring from the control booth were probably staring at her. "Is that so?" I said, my voice dropping to that dangerous, quiet tone that usually makes recruits realize they have made a terrible mistake. "And I suppose you know what real training looks like." Mira Blake's smile widened just a fraction. "Drill Sergeant, I am from Earth. I absolutely know what real training looks like. And this is not it. Oh, I was definitely going to enjoy this. You know what? Fine. Absolutely fine. If this human wanted to see what real training looked like by Coalition standards, I was more than happy to show her. I had been going easy on them. Day 1 is always gentle because most species need time to acclimate. But if Mira Blake thought she was so tough, if she thought our carefully designed training protocols were just a joke, then we were going to skip straight to Week 6 intensity. "Assistant Instructor Velrith," I called up to the control booth. "Override Safety Protocol Delta 7. I want full environmental challenge mode. Authorization Corpax 7-7 Alpha." There was a pause. Then Velrith's voice came through my earpiece, confused. "Sir, Delta 7 is for advanced combat conditioning. These are Day 1 recruits." Did I stutter, Assistant Instructor? "No, sir. But regulations state that we need medical teams on standby for Delta 7 protocols, and at least 3 recruits have already requested bathroom breaks, and Kilrek is still unconscious from earlier, and then get the medical teams, and get everyone except Blake off the course. Now." To their credit, my assistant instructors moved fast. Within 5 minutes, the other 42 recruits were evacuated to the observation deck. Medical teams were positioned around the course perimeter, and I had override authorization for training protocols that were normally reserved for Spec Ops conditioning. Mira Blake stood at the starting line, still looking completely unbothered. She had taken off her jacket, revealing the standard-issue training shirt underneath. Her arms were not particularly muscular by human standards. I would later learn they looked completely normal, average, unremarkable. That should have been my second warning sign. "Blake," I barked, "since you think our training is inadequate, let me show you what we reserve for elite forces. You are going to run the course again. But this time, gravity is set to 1.4 Earth standard. Temperature cycling between 5 and 38 degrees Celsius. Obstacle configuration set to random. And just to make it interesting, automated defense systems are active. Stun setting only, of course, because this is training, not a war." I put extra emphasis on those last words. Petty? Maybe. but she had earned it. The other recruits were watching from behind reinforced glass in the observation deck. I could see them gesturing, talking among themselves, probably placing bets on how quickly the human would quit. I had authorized non-lethal defensive systems, automated turrets that fired gel rounds, motion sensor traps that deployed nets, obstacle segments that actively tried to shake you off or knock you down. This was training designed to prepare soldiers for actual battlefield chaos. This was going to be educational. On my mark, I activated the course. 3, 2, 1, go. Mira Blake launched forward, and immediately the increased gravity hit her. I saw her adjust her stride, compensate for the extra weight. Most species would be struggling to even walk in 1.4 gravity. She was still running. The first turret activated, tracking her movement. Gel rounds are non-lethal, but they hurt. A lot. They are designed to simulate actual weapons fire, to teach recruits to use cover, to move tactically. The turret fired a 3-round burst. She dropped, rolled, came up behind a barrier without breaking stride. The rounds hit where she had been a half-second before. Lucky, I muttered. The second turret had a better angle. She could not possibly have seen it from her position. It fired. She dove sideways. Somehow, like she had eyes in the back of her head. The rounds missed. Barely. But they missed. Corpax. Velrith's voice crackled in my ear. Her reaction time is showing as 0.14 seconds. That is faster than our system's targeting acquisition. Check the sensors. They must be miscalibrated. Sir, I have checked them 3 times. She is reacting to the turrets before they finish their firing cycle. That was impossible. The turrets were designed to be nearly impossible to dodge. The entire point was to teach recruits that they would get hit, that combat hurts, that they needed to use proper tactics rather than relying on reflexes. Mira Blake was dodging them anyway. She hit the wall climb, now coated in a slick substance and tilting at random intervals. She adapted. When it tilted left, she shifted her weight right. When it tilted right, she compensated. The temperature dropped to 5 degrees Celsius. I could see her breath misting in the air. She did not slow down. "Blake!" I shouted through the course speakers. "How are you doing this?" She grunted, pulling herself over a barrier that was actively trying to shake her loose. "Doing what, sir?" "This. All of this. The gravity, the temperature, the defenses." She dropped into a trench as another turret opened fire above her head. "Oh, yeah. This is kind of like the obstacle courses back home. Except those were usually muddier, and nobody bothered to regulate the temperature, and the gravity was whatever gravity happened to be that day, which, is just normal Earth gravity, which is apparently more than most places." She said this casually, while crawling through a tunnel that was randomly filling with cold water, while automated systems tried to tag her with gel rounds, while the course itself actively worked against her. "Back home?" I said. "You mean in your military training?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Military training? No, sir. I am talking about high school. Physical education class. Though honestly, the really tough courses were the ones we built ourselves in the woods on weekends. Those got intense. High school." She was comparing Coalition Advanced Combat Conditioning to high school physical education. "Blake," I said slowly, "how old are you?" 22, sir. "And when did you stop doing these obstacle courses?" "Oh. I mean officially. Probably when I graduated high school at 18. But my friends and I still do them for fun sometimes. Last year we did this insane one in Colorado with my brother. He is only 16, but man, that kid can climb. Beat my time by 40 seconds, the little show-off." She emerged from the water tunnel, dripping wet. Temperature now cycling up to 38 degrees Celsius. Steam rose from her clothes. She did not seem to notice. "Your 16-year-old brother," I said, my voice flat, "can do this?" "Well, not exactly this. I mean, you guys have the automated turrets, which is pretty cool. But yeah, similar stuff. Most kids can, really. It is just part of growing up on Earth. You play outside, you climb things, you run around. Pretty standard childhood stuff." Childhood stuff. I looked at the course read out. The gravity that would crush most species. The temperature swings that would cause severe distress. The automated defenses that elite soldiers trained for months to handle. The obstacles that required peak physical conditioning. Childhood stuff. "Drill sergeant," Velrith's voice again, She just beat her previous time, even with all the increased difficulty. 6 minutes flat. Mira Blake crossed the finish line, breathing slightly harder this time, but still looking like she had just finished an interesting jog. She walked over, dripping water and mud, and looked up at me with those calm brown eyes. "So," she said, "is that more what you had in mind, sir? Because I have to be honest, it is closer, but it is still pretty safe. I mean, the gel rounds do not really hurt that much, and the gravity is only a little more than home, and the temperature stuff is whatever. Do you have anything that is actually, dangerous?" I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Not fear. Exactly. More like the sudden realization that I had made a profound miscalculation. "Blake," I said carefully, "when you say dangerous, what exactly do you mean?" She shrugged, wringing water out of her hair. "I mean actual risk, sir. Like training where you might actually get injured. Where failure has real consequences. Where your body is genuinely in danger and you have to push through it anyway. Training." Behind me, I heard one of the other instructors make a small whimpering sound. "That is what training was like," she continued, "back on Earth. At least, the serious training, the military stuff, the survival courses, the programs for people who wanted to actually be prepared for emergencies. My aunt runs one of those programs, taught me a lot when I was growing up. She is intense." "Your aunt," I repeated slowly, "runs a survival training program." "Yeah. Kids and adults. Teaches people how to handle themselves in dangerous situations. Basic stuff. Fire management, water procurement, shelter building, self-defense, emergency medicine. How to stay calm when everything is going wrong. How to keep moving when your body wants to quit. That kind of thing. Basic stuff." She called all of that basic stuff. "Drill Sergeant Corpax." Belrith's voice was very quiet in my ear. "I have been reading the files on Earth. The planet files. Sir, I think we need to reconsider this training approach." "Why?" I snapped. "Because Earth's baseline gravity is 1.02 standard. Their atmospheric oxygen content is higher than 70% of coalition worlds. Their temperature ranges are extreme. Their predator-to-prey ratio is off the charts. Their childhood mortality rate, even with modern medicine, is higher than most species' combat casualty rates. Sir, we are not training a recruit. We are trying to train something that evolved in conditions we would classify as an active war zone." I looked at Mira Blake. She looked back at me, waiting patiently for my response to her question about actual danger. And I realized that I had made a terrible, terrible mistake. Pride is a funny thing. It makes you do stupid things. Really, catastrophically stupid things. The smart move, the rational move, would have been to stop right there, to acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, human physiology was so far outside our normal parameters that standard training protocols did not apply, to contact command and ask for specialized instructions. But I did not do that. Instead, I looked at this human who had just casually dismantled everything I thought I knew about training, who had called our elite conditioning programs childhood activities, and I made a decision that I would regret for the rest of my career. "Assistant Instructor Belrith," I said. "Load combat simulation protocols, full spectrum. Authorization level Omega." The silence that followed was deafening. "Sir," Belrith said carefully, "Omega protocols are for active combat scenarios. Live ammunition, actual explosives, real hazard conditions. Those are not training protocols. Those are war game simulations for veteran special forces units. I am aware of what they are. Sir, regulations explicitly state that Omega protocols cannot be used on recruits under any circumstances. The liability alone." "I said I am aware," I snapped. "Blake wants to see dangerous. Fine. I will show her dangerous. Load the protocols. Now." "Corpax," another voice cut in. That was Senior Instructor Halvex, my direct superior. "Stand down. This has gone far enough. The human has made her point. Has she?" I whirled toward the control booth. Or has she just demonstrated that we have been training soldiers with kid gloves for so long that we have forgotten what actual combat readiness looks like? She is right, Halvex. This is not training. This is babysitting. If this is what one human can do on day one, what does that say about the rest of our forces? Halvex was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thoughtful. "You want to prove something, To her or to yourself? I want to see what she can actually do, I said. And that was true. Part of me, the part that was not drowning in wounded pride, genuinely wanted to know, needed to know. Because if this was normal for humans, if this was their baseline, then everything we thought we knew about training and combat readiness was wrong. Fine, Alvik said. But I am watching, and the second I think this is going too far, I am shutting it down. Clear? Clear. I walked back down to the course floor. Mira Blake was still standing there waiting, patient. Behind the observation glass, 42 recruits were pressed against the windows, watching with expressions ranging from horror to fascination. Blake, I said, you want to see real training? You are about to get your wish. We are moving to the combat simulation arena. Full scenario. Actual weapons. Live ammunition. For the first time since I had met her, Mira Blake's expression changed. The casual amusement faded, her posture shifted, became more focused. Not tense, exactly, but alert. Predatory. Live ammunition, sir, she said. Are you sure? I mean, I signed up for military training, but I did not think we were doing actual combat on day one. You said this was not real training, so let us make it real. She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, drill sergeant. If that is what you want, but I need to know the rules of engagement. What am I authorized to do? Survive, I said. That is the only rule. Survive the scenario. You will face automated defense systems, combat drones, environmental hazards, and tactical obstacles. Everything will be trying to kill you. Well, not kill you, but hurt you badly enough that you fail. If you can make it through, you win. And if I do not make it through, then you get to spend time in medical and you learn some humility. That little smile came back. Just a hint of it. Understood, sir. Let me grab some gear. 20 minutes later, we were in the combat simulation arena. This was a different beast entirely from the obstacle course. The arena was a half-kilometer square of programmable terrain, capable of simulating everything from urban warfare to jungle combat to zero-gravity boarding actions. Right now, it was configured as a hostile urban environment, ruined buildings, narrow streets, multiple levels, countless angles of attack. Mira Blake stood at the entry point wearing full combat gear. Armor, helmet, tactical vest. She had selected a standard coalition rifle, a sidearm, and various utility equipment. She checked her weapons with quick, efficient movements that spoke of real training, not the casual competence she had shown before. This was different. This was muscle memory. Blake, I said through the comm system. Last chance to back out. No thank you, sir, she replied. Her voice had changed too, calmer, flatter. All business. What is the objective? There is a target beacon in the center of the arena. Reach it. That is all. Understood. Threat assessment. Automated turrets at every major intersection, combat drones patrolling the airspace, motion sensors and traps throughout, anti-personnel mines in randomized locations, and the terrain itself will be hostile. Buildings may collapse, streets may flood, weather conditions will deteriorate. Copy that. Time limit, 30 minutes. After that, the scenario ends and you fail. She nodded, checking her rifle one more time. Ready when you are, drill sergeant. I activated the scenario. Go. Mira Blake moved into the arena, and it was like watching a different person. Gone was the casual recruit who had jogged through the obstacle course. This was a soldier. She moved from cover to cover in short, controlled bursts. Her head was on a swivel, constantly checking angles, evaluating threats. When the first turret activated, she did not dodge. She took cover, calculated the turret's field of fire, and returned fire with controlled bursts that destroyed it in seconds. Effective, Velrith muttered in my ear. But let us see how she handles multiple threats. I activated 3 more turrets simultaneously. Different angles, overlapping fields of fire. This was a kill zone. Nobody could push through this. The only option was to retreat and find another route. Mira Blake pulled something from her vest. A small metallic sphere. She threw it, and I realized what it was a split second before it detonated. A flashbang. The turret's sensors were momentarily overwhelmed. In that brief window, she sprinted forward, slid behind a concrete barrier, and took out 2 of the turrets before they could reacquire her. The third turret she destroyed with a grenade, the explosion echoing through the arena. Where did she learn that? I demanded. Sir, Velrith said, I am reading her file. She has no military experience. She joined the Coalition Defense Forces directly from civilian life. This should not be possible. But it was happening. Right in front of me. Mira Blake was not just surviving the scenario. She was dominating it. Combat drones swooped down from above. She shot 2 out of the air, took cover from the third, waited for it to commit to an attack run, then destroyed it when it could not maneuver away. Mines? She spotted them, marked them, avoided them, or deliberately triggered them from safe distances to clear paths. Collapsing buildings, she read the structural weaknesses, avoided the danger zones, sometimes even used the collapses to block pursuing drones or destroy turrets. 15 minutes in, she was halfway to the objective. 0 injuries. Minimal ammunition expenditure. Perfect tactical awareness. Increased difficulty, I ordered. Sir, we are already at maximum difficulty for Omega protocols, Velrith replied. Then go beyond maximum. Add more drones, more turrets, environmental hazards, everything. Corpax, Halvex warned. You are letting this get personal. He was right, but I could not stop. Because watching Mira Blake move through that arena, watching her dismantle every threat we threw at her with calm, methodical precision, I was not seeing a recruit anymore. I was seeing what humans actually were, what they had been hiding behind pleasant smiles and diplomatic courtesy. I was seeing an apex predator in its element. We threw everything at her. Drones swarmed from every direction. Turrets activated in overlapping patterns. The streets began flooding with freezing water. Buildings collapsed in sequence, trying to funnel her into kill zones. The weather system activated, dropping visibility to near 0 with artificial fog and rain. And Mira Blake adapted to all of it. When the drones swarmed, she used buildings for cover and picked them off methodically. When the turrets pinned her down, she flanked them using routes we had not anticipated. When the water rose, she swam through it, holding her rifle above her head, emerging on the other side ready to fight. When the buildings collapsed, she used the rubble for cover. 28 minutes into the scenario, she reached the objective beacon. Wet, covered in dust and minor scrapes, breathing hard, but standing, functional, combat, effective. She grabbed the beacon, lifted it up where the cameras could see it, and said into her comm, "Objective secured, Drill Sergeant." Was that real enough for you? I stood in the controlled booth, staring at the screens, unable to speak. Around me, my fellow instructors were equally silent. We had just watched a Day 1 recruit with 0 military experience complete a combat scenario designed to challenge veteran Special Forces operators, and she had made it look routine. Sir, Velrith said quietly, I think we need to reconsider our understanding of human capabilities. I finally found my voice. Blake, return to staging area. We need to talk. Copy that, sir. On my way. As she made her way back through the arena, carefully navigating the now undetected threats, Halvex's voice came through my private channel. Corpax, what have you learned? I watched Mira Blake walk calmly through the ruins of the scenario that should have broken her. That she was right, I said. That this is training, and what we have been doing is not. Mira Blake walked into the debriefing room still wearing her combat gear, still damp from the simulated rain, and sat down across from me like we were about to have a casual conversation about the weather. Behind her, through the observation window, I could see every instructor in the facility crowding in to listen. This had stopped being a training exercise. This had become something else entirely. Blake, I said, I need you to explain something to me. She nodded, pulling off her helmet and setting it on the table. Her hair was plastered to her head with sweat and water. Sure, Drill Sergeant. What do you want to know? How? I gestured vaguely at the screens showing the replay of her combat scenario. How does someone with no military experience do that? How does a civilian walk into a combat simulation designed for Special Forces veterans and complete it on the first try? She looked genuinely confused by the question. I mean, it was not that different from the survival courses back home. Harder than most, sure, but the principles are the same. Assess threats, use cover, manage your resources, stay focused. Basic stuff. There was that phrase again. Basic stuff. Walk me through it, I said. Your training on Earth. The real training. What does it actually involve? Mira leaned back in her chair thinking, okay, so there are different levels, right? Like everyone on Earth gets basic education about survival and safety. That starts when you are pretty young, maybe 5 or 6 years old. You learn about dangerous animals, poisonous plants, weather patterns, basic first aid, how to recognize when you are in danger and what to do about it. At 5 years old, Velrith said from the doorway, you are teaching 5-year-olds about danger. Well, yeah, Mira said. Earth is dangerous. Kids need to know how to be safe. Anyway, as you get older, physical education classes get more intense. Running, climbing, swimming, obstacle courses, building endurance and strength, learning how to push your body past the point where it wants to quit. That is middle school and high school, mostly ages 11 to 18. I was taking notes. Actual notes, like a student. What kind of obstacles? Depends on the school and the region. Rope climbs, wall scaling, mud runs, distance running in various weather conditions. Some schools have partnerships with local wilderness areas, so you do survival training. 3 days in the woods with minimal supplies, that kind of thing. Learning to build shelter, find water, start fires without matches. 3 days, I said slowly, in the wilderness. Teenagers. I mean supervised, Mira said. There are instructors around. But yeah, you are mostly on your own. It is supposed to build self-reliance and confidence. Plus it is fun. Most kids look forward to it. Fun. She said it was fun. And if someone does not want to participate, Halvex asked. Mira shrugged. Then they do not, I guess. But most people do. It is part of growing up. Like you want to prove you can handle yourself. You want to test your limits. And honestly, it is good preparation for adult life, because Earth does not get less dangerous as you get older. You need those skills. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice level. That is basic education. What about advanced training? Military preparation? Oh, that is different, Mira said. That is voluntary, obviously. But there are a lot of programs. I did a few different ones. There is wilderness survival training, which is more intense than the school programs. Longer duration, harsher conditions, more complex scenarios. I did a month-long course in Alaska when I was 19. That was brutal. Temperatures dropping to -30°C, having to build your own shelter, hunt or forage for food, navigate without GPS. 2 people dropped out in the first week, -30°C. For a month, voluntarily. Then there is combat training, she continued. Hand-to-hand, weapons handling, tactical movement. I trained at my aunt's facility for about 2 years. She is ex-military, really knows her stuff. We would do full contact sparring, live fire exercises, urban combat scenarios, hostage rescue simulations, that kind of thing. Live fire exercises, I said, with actual bullets. Well, yeah, how else are you going to learn to handle the stress of real combat? Simulations are fine for learning mechanics, but nothing really prepares you for live fire except live fire. You wear protective gear, obviously, and there are safety protocols, but yes, actual bullets, you learn really fast to take cover seriously when rounds are snapping past your head. The room was completely silent. Every instructor, every observer was staring at her. Mira, Halvex said gently, do you understand that what you are describing would be illegal on 90% of coalition worlds? Training civilians with live ammunition, exposing teenagers to life-threatening wilderness conditions, teaching children about lethal threats. Most species would consider that child endangerment. She blinked. Really? But how do you prepare people for emergencies? How do you make sure they can survive if something goes wrong? We have emergency services, Velrith said. Trained professionals who handle dangerous situations. Civilians are taught to stay safe and call for help. Okay, but what if help cannot get there in time? What if you are on your own? That rarely happens on civilized worlds, I said. Our infrastructure is robust. Our planets are terraformed to be safe. We have eliminated most predators, controlled weather patterns, established comprehensive monitoring systems. Citizens can live their entire lives without ever facing genuine physical danger. Mira looked troubled. That sounds nice, I guess, but also kind of fragile? Like what happens if the infrastructure fails? What happens in a real emergency, like a war or a natural disaster? If nobody knows how to handle themselves, how to survive without support systems. Would not that be really bad? It would be bad, Halvex admitted, but the likelihood of such failures is extremely low. We have built our civilization specifically to avoid those scenarios. Okay, Mira said, but you are also building a military, which means you think conflict is possible, which means soldiers need to be prepared for actual combat, which brings me back to my original point. She looked at me. This is training, not a war. You said that to me, remember? But you were wrong. If this is all you do, if you prepare soldiers in safe, controlled environments where nobody ever really gets hurt, where failure just means trying again tomorrow, then you are not training them for war. You are teaching them the theory of war, and theory does not keep you alive when someone is actually shooting at you. I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend our methods, our carefully constructed training protocols developed over centuries of coalition military doctrine. But I could not, because she was right. We have not had a major conflict in over 40 years, I said quietly. Peace has made us soft. Peace is good, Mira said. Do not get me wrong. I am not saying you should want war. But if you are going to have a military, if you are going to send people into danger, you owe it to them to prepare them properly. Real preparation. Hard preparation. The kind that hurts and scares you, and pushes you to your absolute limits, because that is what actual combat does. And if you cannot handle that in training, you definitely cannot handle it when lives are on the line. So what do you suggest? Halvex asked. We adopt Earth training methods, subject coalition recruits to Deathworld conditioning. Most of them would not survive. No, Mira said firmly. You train each species according to their capabilities, but you make it real. Actually challenging, actually dangerous, at least a little bit. And you stop pretending that safe, comfortable training produces capable soldiers. It does not. It produces people who look good in simulations and fall apart in real situations. She stood up, picking up her helmet. Look, Drill Sergeant Corpax, I am not trying to be disrespectful. I get that you have been doing this a long time, and I am sure you are good at your job by coalition standards. But those standards are not preparing anyone for actual combat. You wanted to know if I understood what real training looks like. I do, because I have done it, and I am telling you honestly and respectfully that what you are doing here is not enough. Not even close. I looked at her. This human who had walked into my facility 8 hours ago and systematically destroyed every assumption I had about training, about combat readiness, about what it meant to be a soldier, and I realized something. You are right, I said. She looked surprised. Sir, you are right. About all of it. I stood up, facing her properly. When you walked in this morning and yawned during my speech, I thought you were arrogant, disrespectful. I thought I was going to teach you a lesson about humility, but you just taught me one instead. Everything we do here, all our protocols and procedures and carefully calibrated exercises, they are designed to look like military training while being as safe as possible. We have prioritized safety over effectiveness, comfort over capability, and we have told ourselves that this is enough, that this is sufficient, because we have not had to face real combat in decades. To be fair, Mira said, that is not the worst problem to have. Peace is good, remember? Peace is good. I agreed. But weakness is not, and we have let ourselves become weak. You demonstrated that today, one human, no military experience, first day of training, and you outperformed scenarios designed to challenge our best soldiers. That is not because you are superhuman, that is because we have set our standards too low. I looked around at the other instructors, at the recruits still watching from the observation deck. Effective immediately, we are revising our training protocols. We are going to study Earth methods, consult with human instructors, and implement actual combat-ready conditioning. It is going to be harder. More people are going to fail. Some people are going to get hurt. But the ones who make it through will be actual soldiers, not simulation veterans, not theory experts. Real soldiers who can handle real combat. Drill Sergeant, Velrith said hesitantly. Command is not going to like this. The safety board is going to have concerns. There will be pushback. Then they can come down here and explain to me why we should continue training soldiers who cannot survive real combat, I said. I will wait. Mira smiled. That same little smile from earlier. For what it is worth, Drill Sergeant, I think this is the right call. and if you need any help implementing the new protocols, I am happy to assist. I might be just a day one recruit, but I do know a thing or two about effective training. I might take you up on that, Blake. I held out my hand. She shook it, her grip firm and confident. Welcome to the Galactic Coalition Defense Forces. Real training starts tomorrow. Looking forward to it, sir. As she left the room, Halvex moved to stand beside me. We watched her go, this human who had walked into our facility and changed everything. Corpax, Halvex said. You realize what this means, right? If one human can do this, if this is normal for their species, and Earth is about to send us thousands more recruits. I know, I said. We are not prepared for them. Our entire training infrastructure is not prepared for them. I know. This is going to change everything. The whole coalition military doctrine. Everything we thought we knew about combat readiness. I know. I looked at him. Good. It is about time. On the screens, replays of Mira Blake's combat scenario were already circulating through the facility network. Tomorrow, they would be on command's desk. Next week they would be analyzed by every military strategist in the coalition. Within a month, the entire galaxy would know what I learned today. Humans were not just another species joining the coalition, they were a wake-up call. A reminder that the universe was still dangerous, that peace was not permanent, and that if we wanted to survive whatever challenges lay ahead, we needed to be better, harder, stronger. We needed to actually train like we meant it, and we had a human to show us how.